Hi, the Mudbrooker here. Today I'm going to be making another recipe from my reprint of the 1893 Majestic Range Catalog and Cookbook. This is going to be cornmeal donuts. Sounded real interesting, and it is really good. So, the way the recipe is written in the book goes like this. A teacup and a half boiling milk poured over 2 teacups of meal. When cool, add 2 cups flour, 1 of butter, 1 1/2 of sugar, 3 eggs, flavor with nutmeg or cinnamon, let rise until very light, roll about a 1/2 inch thick, cut in diamond shapes, and boil on hot lard on a Majestic range. I have made one alteration to this recipe. It takes a long time for this stuff to rise all by itself, so I have added yeast to it. And I'm also going to be making a half a batch. Half a batch makes a pretty good amount of donuts. So, without further ado, I have here 1 cup of cornmeal and 3/4 of a cup of boiling milk. Be careful when you boil your milk, it'll boil over very quickly on you if you're not paying attention. I'm going to pour that over my cornmeal. Set that aside, stir it in, and we'll wait a while until this is cooled down. Alright, back a little bit once this is cooled off. My milk and cornmeal mixture has cooled down pretty good. It's still warm, but it's not too hot for my yeast, so we're good to go. I'm going to add my 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1 cup of yeast, this would be a 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick, fairly soft, and there we go. 2 eggs. It calls for 3, and it's kind of hard to decide whether to go with 1 egg or 2 when you try to divide eggs into half. So I'm going to go with 2. If it ends up a little bit too wet, I can always add a little bit more flour, and I have a little bit sitting right there anyway. 2 eggs. Put this away. And I'm going to give it about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, of yeast. Give her a heaping teaspoon. That ought to be a great plenty. Now I'm going to flavor it with homemade cinnamon extract. This is real easy to make. For every, you use 80 proof vodka, just cheap vodka works good. For every 4 fluid ounces of vodka, put about 4 cinnamon sticks in it and leave it sit for 3 months, and then strain it out and bottle it up in something. Don't let it soak for more than 3 months, because after that it'll start to extract bitter elements from the cinnamon bark, and you don't want that. I'm going to give this a teaspoon and a half or so of my homemade cinnamon extract. Alrighty, get this out of the way. Put this on my mixer, put my dough hook on, and we'll mix this up. Alright, we'll take a look here and see how this is doing. It's not bad, it's just a little bit too wet and sticky yet. So I'm going to give it a little bit more flour. A couple of tablespoons to start with. You want this to be a soft, slightly sticky dough, but you don't want it too wet. Everything's pretty well incorporated, but still just a little bit too soft. So I'll give her another tablespoon or two of flour, and that should get us pretty close. Okay, I think that'll work. It's fairly soft, still a bit sticky, but it should hold its shape when I roll it out, and I think we'll be alright. What I'm going to do now is cover this up with plastic. Get that little bit off my dough hook. Cover this up in plastic. That tastes really good too. And we'll let this rise for an hour or so until it's nice and light and airy. Why are you fighting me? There we go. Some days plastic wrap just doesn't work good. Anyway, we'll let this rise and I'll be back when it does. This has been rising for about an hour. This stuff doesn't really rise per se like bread dough, but it does get a lot airier and a lot lighter. It's still a little bit sticky, so we're going to need quite a bit of flour on our countertop or wherever you roll this out. Flour this down good, get her all over. Because you don't want this to stick to the counter. Now, dig it out. Set that aside. Flour up your rolling pin good. And roll it out. A little dusting on top won't hurt either. Knock that flour off eventually. And it's about a ½ inch thick. Now, it says cut it into diamond shapes, which is actually pretty easy. You just cut lines across. And then cut them on the diagonal. And it's a little small. Your ones out on the edge won't be perfectly diamond shaped, but that's okay. So, one more. There we go. I'm going to separate these out a little bit, let them sit for a few minutes while my oil is heating up, and then we'll get these fried up. I've got my dough all cut. It's in nice little diamond shapes. Got them spread out a little bit. Spin you around a little here, and I got my deep fryer all set up. My dog making noise, and the oil's all nice and hot. Got here a plate with some paper towel on it. Now you're probably going to get about 5 batches or so of donuts out of this, and you want to change this after about 2 because they will soak up a bit of grease in your paper towel. I also have another plate. Once these have cooled a bit, I'll cover this with sugar, and I'll sprinkle sugar on top of these. You can dust them with powdered sugar if you like, or you can just leave them plain. Either way is just fine. So now I'm going to grab my little diamonds and drop them in. Get probably 4 or 5 in there. We'll see how they go. I'll try one more. I'll grab one of these little oddball pieces off of the edge. Now, the flour might make your oil foam up a little bit, but that should settle down pretty quickly once they sear a bit, and they'll start to float after 30 seconds or so. And you want your oil at about 350, 360 degrees. Yeah, they're starting to come up. Now we'll make sure that they're not sticking together. There, they're starting to float. And then you just let them fry for 2 or 3 minutes. Let me get my other light in here a little closer, maybe you can see them better. After they fry for a minute or so, you want to flip them over so they're brown evenly on both sides. There we go. And let them cook a bit. I might flip them over one more time. We'll see how it goes. Give them just a little bit more time on that other side so they're nice even golden brown all the way around. And then fish them out. I'll let these guys cool a little bit, then I'll sugar them. While they're cooling off, I'll get my next batch going. Still pretty warm. They're fairly soft and tender while they're still hot, so you got to be, whoops, forgot to put my sugar on the plate. They're fairly soft and tender while they're still hot, so you got to be a little bit careful handling them. But they've cooled off enough that I can handle them. Sprinkle a little bit of sugar on top. You can use cinnamon sugar, different kind of flavored sugars. I'm going to cook up a few more, and then we'll be back and give these a taste. I fried up all of my dough, and this is what you get. Oops. Nice little diamond shape. They puff up a bit, and then they kind of settle down some. And since the first and most important ingredient of any recipe is, of course, alcohol, you thought I forgot, didn't you? I'm going to have a drink out of my big bottle of bourbon. I'd like to thank all of my channel members and all of my subscribers. Hope you all have a happy new year. Here's to you guys. But anyway, these fry up real nice. You sugar them. Like I said, you can use powdered sugar, cinnamon sugar, any one of a number of different things. And they taste really good. You can definitely taste the corn in them, but they're not really quite like cornbread. They are a bit different. And I really like them. These old recipes tend to have a little bit different taste, a little bit different texture than a lot of newer recipes do. But this is definitely a winner, and I recommend that you try them out. I've been the Mud Brooker. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.